Welcome back, everyone, to another plate stack chat, or I should say another bonus plate stack chat. I'm Jason, joined as always by Sam. Tom is still with us for now. We were worried he wouldn't be here tonight, but he is here. And back around the plate stack once again, we have John CrossFit. John, welcome.
Thanks very much for having me again.
I hope you're not using that surname for any sort of commercial gain, because you will have to change it.
I will be shopping you to the cease and desist crew.
I hope that's not your working name. It's not your weekend name, is it?
My weekend name, I was just going to say.
It's the handle to his OnlyFans page.
Speaking of OnlyFans, if you'd like to join our Patreon.
That is very different from an OnlyFans. But,
I'll tell you, here's one for you. This is exclusive right now. If 50 people sign up to our Patreon, I will do a dance in just some budgie smugglers. There you go.
Okay, well, that's guaranteed we never get 50.
Well, there you go. Yeah. 49.
There'll be 49 people going, I really wanted to sign up, but I know now if I put them over the edge,
just another 10 people.
Fault. Right. So what I was going to say before we went on a tangent is that tonight we're going to try and avoid tangents because bonus episode. So if you came back because you were like, oh, we thought you had a second episode with Georgia, that is coming. This is just snuck in between because once again, we have a CrossFit event coming up. So we've got Wodapalloza that people are looking forward to, which means once again we get to play our fantasy fitnessing. Currently, Rob Bird is absolutely smashing these. I think he's had 2 victories in a row now. So it's kind of getting to one of those things where it doesn't really matter who wins now as long as it's not Rob. So we'll go with that. But we'd already booked in to record this tonight, and we'd invited John along, so he was ready with his team. And then we woke up this morning to the news that Dave Castro had been fired. So as we happen to all be together on a podcast, we wanted to obviously just give our reactions. There's not a lot of, information out at the moment anyway. So we're not going to speculate too heavily, but maybe just kind of first reactions, conversations we've had through the day and that. So if you're here for the Dave Castro bit, that will be towards the end of the episode. If you're here for the Wodapalloza stuff, great, that's where you need to be right now. So it means we're not going to maybe spend as much time as we did last time with Dubai. There was a lot of controversial picks for Dubai and less controversial picks this time, maybe more just who is this person picks, I think was a bit of a problem that some of us had. So guys, has everybody done their roster first of all?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Croxon.
Good. And Sam was nodding. And Sam was nodding. And I was going to say, of course, you can't see that, but you can see that because something else that we haven't yet mentioned on the podcast is that it's now on YouTube as well. So if you want to see when they all nod enthusiastically at everything I say, go to YouTube and you'll see it there. John is demonstrating now. If you want to see John demonstrate now, go to YouTube. That's where it is. There we go. Guys, do you want to start with the... first of all, we've got to say Dave and Catherine have done an amazing job because the roster for Wodapalloza seemed to be constantly changing who was confirmed, who wasn't. And I think they were really stressing on how to kind of put something out because nobody really knew who was actually going to be there. So I don't even know if this is completely correct, what we have here, but
round of applause.
Good enough. Yeah. Oh, and again, we're all doing that.
Yeah.
Again, if you want to see
when we get this streaming stuff sorted, we can have a sound deck, and then there can be a
mate,
sound
I'll
effect.
be all over that stream deck, mate.
I'm sure people are concerned about where the quality of this podcast is going, but there we go.
I'm not sure that is a thing.
I think yeah. That's because John's here. Interesting. No, I'm sure they realize it's getting better and better. So let's jump straight into it then. John, you're the guest. Would you like that we go male or female athletes first?
So we went male last time, so I think it's only right that we should go ladies first.
Very nice. Would you like to volunteer to start us off?
Yeah, I can do. I've done. I'll be honest. I've spent more than half of my budget on the lady side of the draw.
Interesting.
I've gone for 2 athletes who I think will podium, and one who, up until about 25 minutes ago, I'd never heard of. So in reverse order, I've gone for an up-and-coming UK athlete who was the second fittest woman in the Isle of Man, I think, a couple of years ago in the Open. She's a early 20s young lady from the Isle of Man called Amy Kringle, who seems to be... my picks this time, I know last time we were on, my picks were based around my heart and not my head. And I tried to pick athletes that I think are getting better as the years go on. So she's definitely an up-and-coming pick, a complete unknown.
Is she the one that you hadn't heard of before?
Yes.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Tom is sitting there going, somebody doesn't listen to Chalking Fitness enough.
An excellent pick is what I'll say. An excellent pick.
Thank you very much.
And I'm glad she's on your radar now. If she wasn't on anyone else's radar, I do encourage you to go and listen to episode 75 of the Chalking Fitness podcast when you finish listening to this episode of Plate Stack Chat.
It's great that this is on video because you can even see how aloof Tom looks when he says things like that now.
Damn it! I've been podcasting for too long.
What else have you got then?
So I like I said, I've gone very heavy on the ladies' side. I've gone for Beth Shadburn, again an athlete who a couple of years ago was a top 500 in the Open, up to top 200, to Games athlete, has done really, really well over the last couple of years.
Just got engaged as well. Congratulations to Beth Shadburn.
Congratulations to Beth. Yeah. You know,
did she message you just to tell you that, or
she messages everyone via Instagram.
Oh, okay.
And by message, I mean put it on a feed, and I
put it on a feed,
randomly scrolling.
But yeah, a real up and coming athlete, I think, in CrossFit. Did 8 years as a gymnast, so she's got that in her wheelhouse. I think
you've listened to her on a podcast, haven't you?
No, quick Google search. 3 or 4 years as a powerlifter, I think. So she's got the weightlifting side of things. We saw. I'm going to go out on a limb here. It was her that smashed that workout at the Open on her hands, wasn't it? That was Bethany. The handstand walk one. That was her, wasn't it? Or am I completely gone wrong?
Where was that?
I'm sure it was the Games.
No, so Beth.
That's Danielle Brandon that did the handstand walk really well.
Is she the other person you've picked?
No, she's not. No, you can cut that bit out, Chase.
Yeah, I'm not cutting this. It's all video now.
We're now live, baby.
Yeah. So I'll take it on that one.
Is that me going crazy? Yes, John, it is.
Well, no, John, but she trained. So she was at part of like that team with her and Kerry Pierce and
she trains with Kerry Pierce in Las Vegas now, doesn't she?
And then she actually beat them both at the semi-final.
Yes.
Which one was their semi-final? Was that was the one in?
It was the one in Vegas. Oh,
Vegas,
yeah. That was
West Coast Classic.
Yeah.
Where Kerry Pierce, Bethany, and Danielle basically got 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2, 4 or something.
Yeah.
The Underdog Athletics crew.
And then both her and Carrie tested positive for COVID at the Games and didn't get to do the Games. And Danielle Brandon had to do it on her own with the mask.
Possibly the semi-final I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you for digging me out of that hole.
That's all right. That's what I'm here to do.
And my third pick is a head and heart pick. I've gone for the lovely Irish lady, Emma Mcquaid, who again, 7th at the Games 2 years ago, 6th at the Games last year, is in her prime in her early 30s. We'll say, won't say her exact age because it's rude. But I do feel like she's an incredible athlete. You know, looking at her lifting stats are incredible. Her engine's incredible. Her gymnastics are really good. So I went for Emma. And she's a lovely lady. I've met her a couple of times at Sid. And she's always been really nice, always been really sound. Always open to hearing the Irish accent and saying hi and making sure everyone feels loved. So yeah, lovely.
Nice. Good picks. Good picks.
Yeah.
Well, let's drop down to Tom. I'm saying drop down because on my screen he's below me, but on everyone else's screen.
Got to echo that. Some really good picks. I think you've got there. I have one pick similar to you. My first pick, and I picked my female athletes first, and I've gone with the red, white, and blue of the Union flag. Really, I think it's phenomenal to have more UK athletes at this event than there are picks. So it was hard. I was picking with my head but I think, to be honest, and my heart, right, in that I wanted to support the UK athletes. I think they'll, are they going to be vying for the podium? I don't necessarily think, when you look at it when you look at the pricing, it would be fair to say they're not like the most likely to hit the podium, but it's going to be super exciting to see that many British athletes out on the competition floor, given a good run at the events and maybe a few event wins in there. So the first person I picked was Amy Kringle as well, John. She's rocketing up the leaderboard, both in terms of the Open. I think she may now be top 200 or top 300 in the Open worldwide 2021, but she came fourth in 2019 at the European Championships and then won 2021 and qualified as an elite, as at Wodapalloza, hence she's in this list. And she had a couple of top 20s in the qualifiers as well. So, while she's new on the scene, and I think this is still going to be her finding her feet, I'm really excited to see another Brit making it onto the top, like some of the highest levels of the sport. Second pick for me, Taylor Howe, JST Compete. She's been around on the kind of sanctional circuit for a while, like Reggie, on the male side, was a semi-finalist, and I'll be really intrigued to see how their off-season's gone. She wasn't at the Arnold Fitness Games, I think, because of a back injury, but she's looking like she's back. So excited to see how she does out on a live competition floor, because it's been a while for her when we think about kind of lockdown and online semi-finals. And then finally, and this is where I was struggling, because you've got people like Karis Webster, who's out there as an individual. We can kind of to some degree claim Emma Mcquaid, although she competes under the Irish flag, but trains in Northern Ireland. I've gone with, and I'm sure it's someone that Sam probably has in his picks, Lucy Campbell. So second fittest in the UK in the Open last year, won the Arnold Fitness Games, I believe. Really excited to see her finally getting a chance to run out on the competition floor at a big event.
Nice. Yeah.
All over that.
Yeah. I shouldn't have expected anything else from you, should I, Tom?
Although one thing I will say, I mean, I'm going full in, kind of like, if I had a union flag, I'd be wrapping it around myself now. $50 total for my 3 female picks.
Wow.
Which is cheaper than 2 of my male picks.
I mean, that has left you a lot of cash on the table for the men.
It has.
Interesting. Sam, Amy Kringle.
How did you guess? Go on, let's see if you can guess, mother. Because you can guess.
Oh no.
Who did I go for first?
Before we go for that, then I just say, have you got Amy Kringle?
Yes.
So we've gone for 4 for 4, just as a spoiler for
Oh,
mine.
really?
Have we? Oh, wicked.
Yes.
So,
she wasn't my first pick though.
Oh, don't say that, because we could have just clipped this out and sent it to her.
Well, no, she was my second pick.
Oh, that's fine. Fair enough.
I know who your first pick was.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
She's
L
my
to the
second.
L to the C.
She's my second favorite female competitor at Wodapalloza this year.
Ooh, wow.
My first favorite, I wasn't able to pick because she's on a team.
See, if I was
she's got to be one of your favorites too, lads. Come on.
Well, I was just thinking, if I was better across the roster of the teams, I could have come out with someone really obscure and been like, "Really, this person is your favorite?" And I just don't know who's on the teams.
Well,
I know who's on the team that is the real person you're thinking of, but I just wasn't fast enough to get a joke answer. It really annoyed me.
No.
And I'm lost. So it's
yeah,
all good.
me. I'm lost too.
Are you really?
I'm oversaturated.
Oh my gosh! You didn't know that Crouchy's on the team at Wodapalloza?
Oh right, yeah. I didn't know
Duh.
Crouch was
No
on
way.
the team, and I just, for whatever reason, I
Nick was
couldn't
on the team.
remember.
No
So
way.
Duh. Yeah. Anyway, so female athlete number 1 for $20, Lucy Campbell, the one and only. Seriously, I think she's going to do big things here. And if she doesn't, I don't care, because she's amazing. She is an incredible human being. And yeah, she's quality.
I'm
female athlete,
because I thought she probably would do quite well, but she's now had the kiss of death, which I'm saying she's going to do really well.
No. Female athlete number 2, I love a steal. Amy Kringle, the steal of this whole thing. $10, mate. You can't go wrong. John's like, mate, you literally picked her 25 minutes ago because she was $10.
That's not true. I picked her about 3 hours ago because I looked through the list of names and went, it's almost Christmas time, and Amy Kringle's quite a Christmas name, so I went for it. And then I Googled, and then I looked her up and went, oh right, she's a UK athlete. Sorry,
Are you sure you haven't heard the Chalking Fitness episode?
God, it's Ricky Gerrard all over again.
Oh,
right.
And female athlete number 3 is in fact Bethany Shapman, because I think she will do very well.
Okay, nice.
And my point differential between first and second, I think 30 points, which is stupid because there's not enough events, but whatever.
Yeah, but I mean, as well, I don't think it's ever yet come down to that, has it? So
I don't think so.
Okay, interesting.
Mine was 25, just because I remember Sam mentioned the last time. Mine was 25 on the differential.
Mine was also 30 for the women.
Was it?
Yeah.
Tom?
I don't know what's going on.
5-point differential.
Yeah,
That's
more likely.
But boring, right?
Yeah.
Or exciting to watch, but boring for this podcast.
So nobody asked, but my picks,
well, come on,
are very similar to yours. I've got Amy Kringle, as I've already mentioned. So she's.
Is that because she's got like a Christmassy name?
No, it's because she was $10.
Yeah.
It was because I did my picks and I was like, I've only got $10 left. Who's here? I was like, Amy Kringle. I know this name because of Chalking Fitness. So I will, and that was the same reason I picked Evie in Dubai, right? I know this name because of Chalking Fitness. So
who serve and spotlight the UK-centric CrossFit community.
He's really on it today, isn't he?
I'm a file a cease and desist against you, mate.
But basically, I've gone Bethany Shadburn as well, because I've all the same reasons everyone else has picked her, and I think as well she must be hungry for this after she turned up so she's historically had injuries. She's always had injuries, and she turned up at the games injury free for the first time. Like finally she was injury free, and we saw what that meant, because she beat Kerry Pearce, and in a like a gymnasticy kind of workout she beat Kerry Pearce, and people were like, this is crazy kind of thing. And then she didn't get that shot at the games where she was expected to podium that year. I think a lot of people were thinking she was going to be on the podium. So I think coming in here, she's hungry for competition. She wants to kind of prove what she can do. The other pick I've got is Danny Spiegel. 2 reasons. One, I think she'll do really well with all the barbell stuff. She's done well in Miami before. She's also actually had, she had an injury as well at the games. She actually had a really terrible event at her quarterfinal, didn't she? And had heat stroke or something, and was still able to qualify despite that. So I think she'll do well. I also think that she is quite a popular athlete. That means whether or not she's winning an event, the camera will at least go on her at some point, and I will have an idea of how well she is doing. Whereas I think other people on this list, unless they're finishing top 5, I will never know where they finished for a couple of hours. So I thought, well, this is a way I might actually know how well she's doing in between. So they are my 3 picks. So
thirdly,
Spiegel,
you can
Kringle.
You can clip that up and you can then tag her in it, and we'll get her on the podcast.
Yeah. Now, she's promised to come on a couple of times, but she's so busy, being good at fitness. Right.
That's why we are able to do loads of podcasts, though, right? Because we're the opposite.
Gave up a wad for this.
Speak for yourself, mate. I got 50 burpees to do after this.
Oh, I was going to ask if you've done them yet.
No.
Good times.
Do you want to do them on pod?
Absolutely not. Nobody. Firstly, if they're just listening to the pod, nobody wants to just listen to me do 50 burpees. I couldn't think of anything else than listening to someone do burpees. And then, if you're going to watch it, then you'd have to watch, and no one wants to watch that either. So that'd be one for
the offer was there.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Probably not.
Okay, moving on. Male athletes. Let's reverse the order then. We'll go with Sam first.
Well, technically, it would have been you first.
I know it would have been me first, but that feels weird. Do you want me to go first?
Yes.
All right, I'll go first. And I'll do a picking with my heart and my head, and this is an athlete that I've always really liked, so I've gone for him.
It's Pat Vellner.
It's not Pat Vellner.
Oh,
my first pick for $40 has gone up in price. I'll tell you that much. Was I wonder if Tom can guess.
What, $40?
Yeah, $40
Pepper.
pick. It's not. No.
Oh,
Was Colton Mertens.
Oh, of course it was.
Your fellow 5'3".
Hey, I'm taller than him. Let's want that on record.
Just for the record, I'm like 5'8", or one of those people that says 5'9", but is actually 5'8".
Oh, this is completely off topic, but I'm throwing it in anyway. My son went for his 1 year check today, right? And he came in, his height was on the 23rd percentile. I was like, this is amazing. He's going to be a CrossFitter. It was like, my wife was like, he's 50% in weight. I was like, yes, he is definitely a CrossFitter.
There we go. Right. So
that was it. That was my son's
going
to be the next famous CrossFitter. Maybe one day he'll be $40 like Colton.
Yeah, I was going to say 2037 maybe he'll be able to. I'm trying to do a bit of quick math there. So I've got Colton. Then I've really struggled with my male picks, to be honest. I have gone for Jake Marconi for $30. So he writes, well, together with Matt Fraser, writes the programming for HWPO. So he's working a lot with Matt, and he is coaching Jason Hopper, who's also there. So he's also got so while he's coaching him, that does also mean that he's kind of got like a workout partner as well that's at the same level, or actually is better than him because he's qualified for the games and Jason hasn't. And Jake hasn't. So I've gone for him for $30. So with all these picks, it's left me with 60. And I would have quite liked Guy, but he was 70. So I've got a decision to make, guys. Maybe you can help me out. For $60,
you could have.
He's got to be a top guy. He's got to be our mate, stand-up guy.
So part of me is saying Jason Hopper because I've got Jake, so I could have Jake and Jason, But then if HWPO is no good, I've shot myself in the foot there, haven't I?
It's probably rubbish.
Ricky Gerrard is $60.
Our stand-up guy,
and it's Wodapalloza, so there's going to be. There's going to be swimming, and that's why I'm going with Ricky, because he's Australian and they love the water. So and maybe
there's swimming in this book, so they should be all right.
There's a whole chapter on it, right, Tom?
I don't know whether it's chapters, it's a section. It's got pictures and everything.
Matt, one day I went swimming. Oh, that's nice. Okay, this book that he's mentioning, if you're not watching, why aren't you watching? He was pointing to Matt Fraser's book. Right. So I've done mine. There you go. Obviously, no comments on that. Sam, who have you got?
Pack one, pick one. I went the main man, Reggie Fassa.
When you went, I was going, Ricky Gerrard.
No, I didn't. I haven't got Ricky, unfortunately. I've just thrown away the rest of my picks.
You not picked already?
No, where was I? No, I'm on the page and I've just clicked it and it's just gone off my pick. Where's he gone? Where are you? You're $40. There he is. Woo. My pick two, Dallin Pepper, $40.
That's a good shout.
Because I think that's a good shout. Did he win the teens a couple of years? He was with Jason Hopper, wasn't he? He was like them two kind of fighting it out, I think.
Yeah, he did really well at his quarterfinals as well.
Yeah. And the guy who I think is probably going to win, Pat Vellner. A steal at $80.
When I first messaged John and I was like, "Oh, make sure you do your picks for Wodapalloza," I was working the whole day. I didn't even have a chance to look at, it'd gone live, but I'd left the house so early that morning. And then John's messaging me like, $80 for Pat Vellner. Oh, it's ridiculous. I've not even looked at this, but yeah, that does seem.
I'm not sure. To be fair, I'm not sure he's going to win this one, but we'll see.
I think he'll be up there. He'll be up there.
Yeah,
he'll get you plenty of points.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although my only thought with the Vellner thing is, like historically does bad at swimming. But hey,
I mean, Pat Vellner always historically does bad at the first thing. So as long as the first thing's not swimming, we'll be all right.
Because that going badly could end up really badly.
Yeah.
No,
the wheel
as
falls
long as
off
the first thing
back or
is
something.
swimming, prove from then on, and that'll be the rest.
Yeah.
So last in the swimming event won't matter when he gets first in all the others.
Yeah.
The nice thing about this though is that we've got very different picks so far, so that's good because last time our picks were far too similar.
Well, I've gone with the fact that I never win, but then I try and pick people who I think will win. Actually, I've just picked people who I think will be really cool, and I want to win. So I've picked the picks who the people who I actually want to win, rather than necessarily like I'm hoping they win, obviously, and I think that they probably do pretty well. But I'd much rather root for these people than just be picking people who I think are like dead certs to win, man.
So
can I try hard like Rob? There you go.
Shots fired. We need to get Rob on this.
We do need to get Rob on this, but he's not here because he's busy training at this time.
Oh, dedication.
You see again, too busy doing fitness to be on the podcast. It's a common trend. I would just like to say at this point, with the Ricky pick, as disappointed as I was that he didn't get me as many points as I would have liked at Dubai, from hearing different athletes speak about their interactions with him in Dubai and the few little bits that I saw of him, like little clips here and there, actually, I think he's, I was going to say stand-up guy. I'm not going to say stand-up guy. I'm going to say an interesting personality to watch at these events, and people seem to actually kind of like speaking to him and spending time with him. And I think if the athletes are kind of cool with him, then that's a good sign. It's a really good sign. So, but
Pat Vellner wasn't there.
Well, that's true.
Do you know what I mean? I've been thinking about this a lot because maybe this is the first time they're going to like actually see each other since Ricky cheated. Ricky cheated and put Pat in fourth, and then actually came third. Like, oof.
I think could make the rest of the athletes pick a side.
Yeah, and then they do a big tug of war.
It's just Ricky on his own against the other 39 or many.
I'd be standing there alongside my man Ricky. Don't put him.
Your man Ricky that you didn't pick.
But you did pick Pat.
Team Vellner.
Whatever.
Come on, John. We've been told before not to use logic to beat Sam on the podcast.
Oh, sorry, and big words. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, like the female side, I have two picks the same as Sam.
Do you?
Yep. So I also picked Reggie Fasser, episode 74 of the Chalking Fitness podcast.
So the more like people you have on the podcast, the more difficult it is for you to field a roster.
Or easy, right? We'll see. So no, but I think he's. I'm super excited. He did.
Yeah.
He competed as an individual at the last Wodapalloza, won the row event. Having spoken to him on the podcast, he's been, he's always been working hard, but they've been, really kind of like getting back to basics, kind of like, working on efficiencies, things like that. So I'm excited. He had a storming time at the Honor Fitness Games, so we'll see how that goes. Other person I have, same as you, Pat Vellner. He's worth the money. I think he's going to be a good point sponge, or the reverse if it's like lower points for first. So I'm happy to kind of have him on board. And because my female athletes who I picked first only cost me a total of $50, I was flush. So, and that said, though, I didn't choose Guy as my second pick. I could have done. But again, I like to kind of mix it up a bit. And I chose a man who has been mentioned already, but I don't think being picked. Jason was thinking about picking him. I picked Jason Hopper. Again, underneath the tutelage of HWPO, Jake Marconi and Matt Fraser, I guess. Jason, you've spoken about him being hungry, didn't quite have the games he hoped for. Don't think he necessarily quite had the rogue he was hoping for either, though. But maybe third time's a charm.
Yeah, I'm glad you picked him because I am interested. Like I think he's an interesting guy.
Now you can be interested and not care which way it goes, right?
Yeah, I think I can just no. I think it's I'd like to see him do well, and now if he doesn't do well, I'm not going to feel as bad because I'm going to be like, oh, good, that's convenient. Less points
because he's not earning some points.
It's win-win for you essentially.
Isn't that why I picked Ricky Gerrard last time?
So there's my 3 picks.
Well, who have you picked this time then, John?
So you won't be surprised to hear I've gone for my absolute man crush, Pat Vellner. I just think he's going
just
to.
Surprised
absolutely...
you can afford him, to be honest, John. That's
I know.
Me.
Wait until you hear the other picks. So I went for Pat Vellner, a guy that almost for the same reason I picked Laura Horvat in the last event in Dubai. Pat, I've seen up close. I've judged him at Sid a couple of years ago when he was on the WIT Invitational team. He was part of that duo that finished that workout in 4 minutes 58 when no one else finished it in the second round. So everyone else was like 12 minutes. And Pat and Laura finished it in 4:58, which was the ski erg buy-in and the 90 synchro box jump overs. And just the engine, he's incredible. He's a gymnast by trade. Yes, he's not a very good swimmer. Hopefully he might have been swimming over from whatever island he lives on. I always see pictures of him on the ferry over to the mainland. So maybe he started swimming over to the mainland, fingers crossed, and he's getting better at that.
Have you been hacking his phone or something, mate? Is that where you're getting these pictures from?
He puts them on his Instagram and
just
his Facebook. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My second pick is no surprise. It is 11th fittest man in Europe last year, Reggie Fassa. I think sticking. Well, my next pick won't make sense, but sticking with that idea of people who are getting better year on year. Reggie was like top 4,000 in the Open 4 years ago, and he was 38th last year. He's a guy going places. He's got that right mentality. I have heard him on your podcast, Tom. And just listening to how he's training, what he's doing, how he's getting on, his sort of demeanor, he comes across really well. And I just think he's a serious guy who's going to do serious things. That left me with the sum total of $10. So I wasn't very rich for my third pick. And I just thought he's a little bit OG now, I think, but I went with Drew Wayman because I just think for a tenner, can't go far wrong really with Drew, so.
I'm a bit gutted. Just to finish off, I'm very happy with what you picked there, John, because I think I might beat you. But I maybe just on the men's side. Because I think Dallin Pepper's probably going to finish higher than Drew Wayman. But, but I have on good authority that Zach George is competing as an individual at Wodapalloza, but we're not able to pick him because he would have been my pick over Dallin Pepper every day of the week. But I don't know. I haven't, obviously, Zach hasn't messaged me for a couple of days. No, I'm joking. But yeah, I'm a bit gutted that I really wanted to pick him. Well, but I haven't been able to yet. I'll have to pick him for the games instead when he qualifies.
I was going to say, well, you should message Dave, tell him, say, Dave, he's not on your fantasy roster. Why? And then I would say, I reckon probably that's been a good thing that he's not on there because I reckon you'll probably do better with Dallin Pepper.
What? The other thing,
whatever you do, don't snip that and send that to Zach.
His agent already hates me.
Just to wrap up, I know we've been doing fantasy picks here, and so we've been focusing on the elite division. There is, an RX division, which I think is kind of like 21st to 60th maybe. So there's a whole other 40 kind of individual athletes, but there's also age groups. And one of the things I'm just going to point out is that we've mentioned a number of times the UK, the Irish athletes that are kind of out there in the elite division, but there's a whole host of, we've mentioned teams. There are 7 teams competing. In fact, there's 8 if you include the invitational team from Ireland of PD Savage, Mickey Smith, and Sam Stewart. But you've got
that's a good trio as well, you know. That's a bloody fit trio. That is.
They're going to be exciting to watch. And they're going to be going up against the likes of like Mayhem and the Smith brothers and stuff. So it's going to be cool. But Luke Reeson's in the adaptive division. Paul Bedford should be going out of the 35-39 division along with Hugh Davis in that division. Then you've got Ross Austin, who's another adaptive athlete who's going out there. He's really new to CrossFit. Simon Wilson Story, hopefully, is going out. He's a regular games competitor in the 50 to 54 division. And then someone I've not come across before, Ross D'Agostino, who's a teen athlete, I think, did very well at European champs in the teen division, and he should hopefully be getting out there in the 16 to 18 division. That's on the men's side. On the kind of
Ross
women's...
Austin, sorry, just quickly, Ross Austin is a renegade, isn't he?
He is, yep.
Yes, so, I knew, I was like, Ross Austin, I'm sure I know that name. Yeah. What a lad. I didn't know he was going.
And then hopefully, he's going out there as an invitational. He's come across from para powerlifting. I'm really excited to see how he gets on. Hopefully, we've got Sophia Fry in the 16 to 18 division as a JST compete athlete, I believe. Hopefully, she's getting out there. Helen Mcleod, 50 to 55 division. Kelly Marshall, 40 to 44 division. Games athlete came, on the podium at the games. And I think Lucy McGonigal as well. Finished first in the qualifiers, finished on the podium at the games in the 13 to 15 division. So sorry to hijack what is the fantasy fitness thing, just to give a bit more of a shout out to the UK based athletes. They need to charter a plane because the Brits are coming.
Are the Irish sat down the back near the drinks trolley? Is it?
Yeah. three lads as well.
I tell you what, though, that really is some team of 3 lads. PD Savage, again, he was on that WIT invitational team at Sid with Vellner and that, and he wasn't left behind. Mickey Smith, incredible athlete. Sam Stewart, just like 3 really, really good athletes. I hope they can get their teamwork together. And they could really do some damage this weekend or next weekend. Sorry.
Oh, I think the you're right to kind of like flag that again. The Irish competitive field is fierce. I think it's really impressive. I know Peter from Coffee Pods and Wads will be pleased to hear that. But yeah, those 3 boys, Emma Mcquaid, a number of others as well. I'm probably forgetting, but I'd say the Irish have just as much of a foothold, if not more, at that high level.
Just shout out Lucy McGonigal. I'm just looking at the online qualifiers. She only scored 9 points. She came first, fourth, first, second, first. Wow.
Single digits only, thanks.
Yeah. I can literally count a score on 2 hands.
But I mean, although one thing, and let's just fingers crossed, all of them can get there, right? With all the travel restrictions and stuff, it must be pretty stressful for them all because they want to train, right, and get ready for the event, but at the same time it's a little bit kind of like
it is, I don't know, it is incredible like how scaled down all the other all the competitions over the last 2 years have just sort of either been online or okay, we'll be in person, but we'll scale it back a bit, we'll have slightly less athletes than usual. And Wodapalloza is just, I don't know, it almost feels like they're doing too much, right? You're like, really, that many things? So I'm intrigued to know what will be streamed and what won't, what we'll be able to actually see and what we won't. But it will be interesting, won't it? I mean, it's going to be an absolutely massive event. Okay, so there we go. If you wanted to hear us talk about Dave Castro, well done for listening through all of that, because I assume you listened to it all and you didn't skip. Great. Well, Wodapalooza's fast approaching and look forward to seeing how our teams stack up. I've already seen we've had a few new people jump in on the league, so that's good. With some great names as well, team names. If you do sign up for the Plate Stack Chat League and you join, just send us a DM with your team name and who, because we can read the team names, but we don't know who they are. So it'd be nice to know like who that listens is in the league, and then we can shout you out properly when you win. Well done, you. As long as you're not Rob, then we'll be happy to shout you out.
Rob, you try hard.
Right, guys. Dave Castro has been fired from CrossFit.
So it's not actually that funny, is it? Like the poor guy's actually got a family.
Like. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't think financially this is gonna hit him hard, because I imagine there's a huge payout, and he's also, you know, he's got a ranch. He's got, his life is relatively, I think he's financially secure. So I don't think that's the concern or the issue that people are maybe having. Obviously, yeah, so we don't want to like over speculate, because I imagine things will come out. A few things though, like off the top of my head, that we do know. So it seems that he was contacted and told you're fired, but we've prepared a statement sort of saying it's a kind of a mutual thing that you're walking away. And he said, no, it's not. So we're not going to have that. So it clearly is a one-sided thing. And I think there was this statement about it not fitting with CrossFit's like go for, it's a really weird wording.
He called it CrossFit's go forward plans, wasn't it?
Go forward plans. There we are.
I was going to say that maybe one of the things it broke with Morning Chalk Up, and so just in case people are like what's going on because they haven't heard, if you like Sam, we broke it to him. So yeah,
yeah. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, Dave Castro has been fired, and I'm reading verbatim now from the Morning Chalk Up, has been fired from his position as general manager of sport for CrossFit LLC by Eric Rosa, according to an internal email circulated to CrossFit employees on January 4th. And Castro reposted that saying, I've talked to Eric, or I've talked to Rosa once in the last 3 or so months during his time away. He called me tonight to fire me. He told me they had messaging prepared that this was mutual. I asked him not to use that because that couldn't be further from the truth. Whereas and then the quote from Eric Rosa is, I have made the difficult decision to change the leadership of the sport team to best support CrossFit's go forward plans, and Dave Castro will be leaving the business. I thought I'd get that in there, right? Because
there was quite a bit on the end of that email where he thanks Dave for the 15 years and how the CrossFit Games wouldn't be where it is without him and his programming and his drive and ambition for all of this. So that's the very first part of the email, but there is quite a lot after that does give him the credit he rightly deserves.
Yeah, no, that's I think that's important as well. No, definitely, the credit where credit is definitely due.
Although, on that point, from what you've had, like, you know, mentioning the games wouldn't be what it is without him. I think that's one of the issues that some people had, is there's been so much focus about the game side of thing and the sport of CrossFit, and Eric is sort of recognizing that, well, Dave, without you, the sport wouldn't be what it is. But Dave Castro was like heavily involved in the L1 team and the seminar stuff and all of that for such a long time. So he's done a lot more for CrossFit than just put on the games. And I think that's something that isn't even known by maybe the majority of people now, newer people in CrossFit, and also is something that doesn't seem to be being recognized here at all. It is more like, oh yeah, he's just the guy who does the games. But actually that was just initially a small part of what he did. And then he kind of got pushed more and more into that role over the last couple of years. But yeah, okay. I mean,
so what do we think?
What do you want me to start? I'll start. I don't mind starting if you want. What I find, like, so I've never been really a Dave Castro fan. You know, I would say, as kind of personalities go, we are probably polar opposites. So his style is very different to like what I like. But I haven't got an issue with Dave Castro, if that makes sense. So I'm not like, oh, I think he's amazing. You know, I think he does a great job. I don't necessarily like him, but I like what he does. Like, he does a good job. And I think that's my issue with this, is he hasn't done a bad job and he's lost his job. And then you kind of like, if somebody loses their job because they're not good at their job, I get it. That makes sense. And if you lose your job because you're not in line with a go forward. I don't even know what that what are we specifying here? That's a little bit weird. And then the timing, I think, is super strange. Like, that's really, really weird, because if this is if this is a plan, you do it at the end of the last games and you give someone a whole season. All right, so we finished the games. Now you take the ball and run with it for a season. Doing it just before the Open kicks off is yes, very.
So does that mean something's happened then? Something's happened that's brought this forward? Do you reckon? When you say like do it at the end of the games, do you reckon the plan was for him to step aside at the end of this games then possibly, and something's happened that's brought that idea forward?
Yeah, or the previous games. Like, if you had this idea, 3 months ago, you do it. You don't wait until we're kicking off a new season and then put someone else in the spotlight, and and if it goes wrong, it's their fault.
Sam, it looks like you have thoughts on this. I know you're probably one of the last of us to hear. So what when we talk about it's a weird time for it to happen, what makes you?
I don't know. So I've never met Eric Rosa, obviously. Well, maybe not obviously. Actually, from what I hear, he's a nice guy, right? The people that I've spoken to that have met him, I've said he's a good guy. He's a nice guy. He has, he's got the heart of the community in mind and stuff like that. He's not a Greg Glassman, right? So Greg Glassman was 100% CrossFit. He was 100% CrossFit through and through. When he owned CrossFit, he owned 100% of CrossFit, right? Eric Rosa does not own 100% of CrossFit. Eric Rosa, I don't know what percentage he owns. It wasn't disclosed. Sorry, I'm quite passionate about this. I've been thinking about this all day, and I've been thinking a lot about it. And I've been
if only you had a podcast, you could share your thoughts on.
I've been thinking a lot about, but I've been thinking a bit about Greg Glassman as well, and what is CrossFit doing? And it's mainly off of the back of everyone taking the piss out of Jason for loving Monster. Not loving. If you listen to the podcast, you'll know that we rinse him and take the mick out of him. Because
did you see that? That's what I posted when Dave Castro was fired. Oh, this is what you get when you refuse to drink Monster.
I did see that. I was brilliant.
Too soon. But I think Eric Rosa is super vanilla, right? At this moment in time, or until now, has been super vanilla. Right, he hasn't like really rocked any boats. He hasn't really done anything that's he's just kind of, and in my opinion, I think he's been sorting out the background currently. When he arrived, they didn't even have an HR department, right? CrossFit didn't have an HR department when Rosa arrived. So for him to then be sorting that out is in the background. So I think the timing is pretty apt. Like, what was it, like 4 weeks ago? Dave posted a picture of him and Greg with @CrossFit, #CrossFit on like in his thing. Haven't seen this guy in over a year. Changed my life. I think that's right. Anyway, something like it was something along the lines of, this guy changed my life. Haven't seen him in over a year. @CrossFit, #CrossFit. Maybe that's a little bit of a sour taste. And again, there's questions over that. But then he posts a picture of him with a boar. He's just shot a boar or something. And not only has he just posted that picture, but he's also posted the pictures of people DMing him the hate for it. Right now, you have to ask you, but also this same Instagram account that he's posting that on, he's also, for the previous X amount of years, been releasing teasers for the CrossFit Games. Right. So the people that are watching that are also heavily invested in CrossFit. So I think it's probably ended up as the last straw for Rosa going, do you know what? I'm not sure I can have this anymore. I think I've sorted my back room out now. And I think I've got CrossFit like behind the scenes where I kind of want it to be. And now I need to kind of move forward with what I want to do. Because when he went to try and buy CrossFit, he met Greg, and he wasn't. I've read a couple of articles and stuff. Is it 5280.com? I was reading one from like June or July or whatever it was, and they basically were saying like Greg wasn't really interested in talking to Eric about selling CrossFit. he wanted to see what he was likely to do. So during like one of Greg's whiteboard talks, Eric basically like interrupted him and went, "Can I do a talk?" And then apparently he was like, "Yeah, go for it." And then he like did a talk about what he loves and CrossFit and where he would take it and things like that. And that's kind of how it happened. Because Greg didn't have to. You have to remember, Greg didn't have to sell CrossFit. It's his. It was 100% his. Like, he didn't have to leave. He didn't have to do anything. But he chose to because he felt like he was, well, maybe I'm speaking on his behalf, but I thought about this a lot over a long time. Greg was very, if nothing else, he was immensely passionate about changing people's lives for the better and getting them fitter and healthier than anything else. And I don't think anyone could ever say that he wasn't, and he isn't, because they'd be 100% wrong. That's some of my 2 pennies worth. There's probably more episodes on this, but I haven't said anything before because I didn't want to like cheese anyone off or speak out of turn.
I think my thoughts on it, Sam, are fairly similar to yours in that, you know, he's posted that wild boar shoot. Does this really fit in with Rose's future corporate CrossFit image? You know, they've talked about the Chinese market being virtually untapped. Is the guy running the games going to be someone who stands around in the ranch in 2020 with a gun on his hip? He's showing that all-American hero dream. People in China aren't going to buy into that. People in the global industry aren't going to buy into that. You know, Rose has paid whatever he paid for this business. He's got to recoup some of that. Maybe Castro's all-American ex-Navy, you know, ex-forces face doesn't fit and his lifestyle doesn't fit, perhaps. I don't know.
I think you've just used a really good phrase that I was trying to get I couldn't get the words for it, and that's like corporate CrossFit. And I think that is a new thing that up until recently, and I can see if anyone's not watching, Jason's making a face. And I think that's the thing, is that like that is something really that hasn't existed in the limelight in the same in the way that it has more recently, you know. And like you say, you know, Rosa has bought CrossFit with, I'm guessing, investors, you know, and so there are he'll have responsibilities.
Partnership partners.
Yeah, you know, so that, you know, they're looking, how can they grow the brand, and they're looking at it with a corporate eye. And there is that element that you know, it's typical that you're going to move away from individuals, and you're going to start moving towards more brand presence rather than individual presence, because and when you have individual presence, it's contractually controlled, it's brand, it's partnerships, it's sponsorships, you know, it's your Fronings and your Frasers and your Toomeys. They're your individuals that represent the brand. You know, that the kind of other individuals are kind of like typically quieter in a corporate setting, which is going to be really tough. So one thing I want to say is, like, I mean, I'm always normally on the fence, and I do want to go back to Jason, because when I said corporate CrossFit, it was like, and I know I'm normally on the fence, but it's because I can typically put myself in other people's shoes. And there's one thing, so there's 3 things. I think it's like corporate CrossFit is very new, right? And it rubs people up the wrong way, because the traditional CrossFit culture is kind of more like kind of the you know, grassroots, the ranch, the kind of like, you know, quite, you know, that type of thing. And so people feel like they take this personally. Social media doesn't help. People feel like they've been fired, like their friend has been affronted, whether they've met the guy or not. Many people have. Many people feel that their lives have been changed by this one individual, and and I mean, that's a fair comment as well. But then the key thing, and the thing that isn't changing here really, and the third C, and I was trying to make sure they all started with C, is CrossFit community. All of this stuff does not change what happens in your box, right? You can still go in. You can still go in, you can still lift weights, you can still throw down with your mates. The methodology is unchanged. Yes, what we're seeing here is corporate shifting, which can feel really painful because of the culture that exists within CrossFit, of feeling it very attached to the brand, but your community is unchanged. Those people that you're throwing down with day in, day out aren't changing, unless maybe you train at CrossFit HQ.
And maybe on the back, of that, Tom, maybe on the back of that, there are now more CrossFit boxes outside North America than inside North America. So it is a global brand. It is a worldwide brand. I think on the last one we did of these, we were talking about how many of the top 20 in the females at the games were from Europe, and we're from this side of the pond. It's got to be sort of non-offensive to everybody, I guess. And I don't know. I'm not saying that Dave Castro is an offensive person. I've never met the guy. All I know is I hate his workouts when he programs the open because he kills me. But but that's a good thing too. But I just don't know if that sort of all-American fits the global brand that is now CrossFit.
The other thing, and then I do want to go to Jason because I'm sure he's got stuff to say on this, is I've not overly seen boxes sharing this or sharing their outrage. Maybe individuals, maybe coaches, whatever. And this again comes down to what that whole thing of like their sphere of influence is their community, right? And kind of expressing dismay that the director of sport has been kind of like sacked doesn't change what they're putting on the board for their members, the experience and creating the best hour of the day for their members. And so there is this element there of like, and social media creates that maelstrom of kind of like, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever for CrossFit. I was like, it's an upset. And I do think Dave has and could continue to bring great things for CrossFit, but the brand is evolving. It evolved when Rosa came in and it's continuing to evolve. And I think, for folk to remain on what is inside their control, delivering great experience for their members is the right thing to do. But I know that's me sitting on the fence, but passionately sitting on the fence. So there.
Passionately sitting on the fence. I love it.
Channeling my Chase Ingram, but staying on the fence. Jason.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. While Sam was speaking, there was a tweet that came through from Morning Chalk Up that was a screenshot of Dave Castro's Instagram story, available soon at Rogue Fitness. Dave Castro branded hats.
So, yeah, I saw that.
Will he be making the move to Rogue where they do want that all-American kind of vibe? Maybe. Options, isn't it? Okay. My thought on this is, as I said, I don't actually really like Dave Castro, but I know who he is, right? And it doesn't, like, for me, it doesn't affect what he's doing. So I was like, I'm not a huge Castro fan, but I'm also not, from what I know of him, I'm not extremely offended by anything he's done, right? Like, he's not done anything criminal, anything that really is abhorrently wrong in my eyes. For other people, yes, some of the things he's done, maybe they really didn't like. Okay. My problem is with the whole corporate model is they talk of like value, it's like, so I was speaking with someone else and I won't say who it was just because they sent me this before I put the post out. So I don't want to sort of drop what they said on here, but they were saying like, maybe his values no longer align with CrossFit's values. My problem is corporations don't have values, really. Mm-hmm. They have projected values. What they show other people are their values. But when you have a board full of different individuals have values, and those values can be very different. So you can have people on a board, and this company projects these values, but you don't know what the individual members of that board are doing at home that are maybe much more horrific and terrible and even criminal in comparison. I know, like, I can see Dave Castro. He's a person. I'm like, oh, that's Dave Castro. That's what he's doing. And for me, again, like, Dave Castro leaving CrossFit, fine, fair enough. If he left CrossFit, or as I said, if he was doing a bad job and he got fired, fine. The precedent of this doesn't align with what we want to do, so we're getting rid of you, that is dangerous.
I knew you were going to say that as well.
Yeah, well, down the line, who knows what else doesn't align?
I agree.
And so far, we talk of, Tom, you kept using evolving, and I think when people think of that expression of CrossFit is evolving generally means, improving. Is usually what people think of when they think of evolving, right? Like the next stage, the next level. I'm thinking
it just wasn't Pokemon enough.
Do you know what I was thinking? Very much Pokemon is what I was going to say. But so far, I mean, like we joked about how I feel about Monster Energy sponsoring the games, and also by extension other like semifinals and semifinals and things. That means other brands that have been maybe in the space for a long time that would have previously been there are now in competition with Monster Energy, like, which is, Coca-Cola, which goes back to kind of, I know it's not, they have a percentage, whatever. And then, it's just been this constant throwing things at the wall, seeing how we can make money, and constantly hearing, well, he's got investors now, he needs to recuperate the cost, kind of thing. And it's like, yeah, but at what point do you just keep saying, well, we need to, recoup the cost, they need to make money, and so we'll just do another online competition. Here's another thing to get the CrossFit.
No one buys a business that isn't making money, and for whatever amount he's paid for, So it must have been doing okay anyway.
But yeah.
But also I think you don't buy a business and then not plan to try and increase its revenue, right? Because absolutely. I think every business needs to be trying to grow. I don't think McDonald's have stopped opening franchises because they've got enough, right? Or Amazon.
As long as they don't sponsor the next games.
Yeah, but you also don't buy McDonald's and say, well, we could make McDonald's bigger. Maybe McDonald's should be vegan only. There we go. That'll appease. That will make and that would make a group of people extremely happy, and maybe quite a vocal group extremely happy. Mm-hmm. But it's not the direction that franchise was headed in. That's kind of,
well, Burger King have just done it. They've brought out a vegan nugget.
No, but
I'm joking.
You can add a vegan item to your menu. That makes sense. Mm-hmm. But to kind of make a massive shift and then be like, well, actually, this is the direction we're moving in, would seem really weird. And I mean, that's an extreme. CrossFit haven't done that. But for me, as I said, it's not Dave, it's not this issue. It's the precedent you set of, yeah, we don't really like this person, so you're gone. It doesn't matter how well you were doing your job, how well, what was going on. It just doesn't align. And maybe things will come out, and then we'll get specifics and go, okay, yeah, I get it. But it's so vague, and it's just sort of this kind of, it doesn't align. In what sense? Because I would have thought CrossFit's, values were health and fitness and that, in which case, surely it does align, because he's someone who's led the charge on the L1 and things like that, and really does care about people's fitness. But that's not what they care about. So
I think on that front as well, like, just for stuff that comes out, me being on the fence, contextual disclaimer, we're talking about this at 9 p.m. GMT on Wednesday the 5th of January, and inevitably more stuff will continue to come out. So be very interesting. And but I think it's been good to kind of give our thoughts on it. You make some really interesting points about values. Companies portray values. It's a key part of any corporation. Is like, this is our brand values, right? And I recognize that it's an entity. It's not an individual. But that doesn't mean they're not important, and that they won't make board decisions based on that. And again, then it comes down to, thank goodness for the affiliate model, because any kind of changes that you don't agree with at that level you're not going to see that trickling down and being like, and so we're going to double the price of your affiliate, price of your membership doesn't agree with our values, so we're now going to have to put that up by all affiliates will charge the same amount regardless of where you are in the world. I mean, that's maybe going off on one, but
as long as we don't go to US prices.
But I was just going to say, but like on that thing of like, corporations having values and them, promoting that fight, like what you'll see with other companies, and what probably every other member of the board would have had, is somebody else managing their social media. For example, Sam mentioned, like, he's putting out the games hints and he's putting out this other stuff. You who Dave Castro is when you've come in. You've got this guy. You assign like they do with actors, like they do with politicians, like they do with other people. You just have somebody like, this person runs your social media, and then they say, we're not going to put that, or you contractually say these are things we do not want to see on your social media. Like, and at that point he could have said, I disagree, I'm walking away. That would have been on a mutual thing, because he would have said, I want to be genuine, I want to be who I am, this is the kind of thing I'm going to post. Not good enough for you? Fine, let's split. That's mutual. Not after the fact saying, oh, these are things we don't really like, so you're out of here. Well, that should have been made clear. And the idea of like, well, how could they know? In contracts all around the world for high profile people, those kind of things are made very clear in their contracts, what they can and cannot post on social media. So considering the majority of the people now running CrossFit have more of a background in social media and business and advertising than they do in fitness, they would know that.
Yeah. It's so hard, right? With your mic drop, love it. I know you'd never drop on your microphone. So
I might drop my nice Defiant Co pen.
Whoa.
All the stash.
They've released a meme. They released a meme today. I won't go into that. Dave Castro, when did this drop? When did this actually happen?
Midnight last night.
Yeah.
What, in American time or our time?
The guy who does Make Wads Great Again, John, I think his name is, he put down that it wasn't released by the time he went to bed, and when he got up this morning, he was inundated with DMs. So I think it was
because
overnight.
Dave Castro. So looking at Dave Castro's Instagram now, 17 hours ago, he posted about a picture of the boar, him with the boar, and 17 hours ago he posted a picture of him with Greg Glassman. 17 hours from now. So what would that be? What is the time now? 9 o'clock. So 2 a.m.
11 o'clock East Coast time. 11 p.m. last night.
So do you think that maybe they just decided to fire him on the spot?
It's possible.
Because that would have been like the hour before, unless he knew already. Like, I don't know.
Is it a little bit like we spoke about earlier when we were talking about our picks for Wodapalloza? Because Vellner and Gerrard are there, you have to pick a team. Is Castro almost sticking the proverbial two fingers up to Rosa because, this is the coach who's made a difference to all my life? And he has. Greg Glassman has done those things for millions of us across the world. But is it just that sort of, I'm picking the other team? Is that what's kind of triggered them, maybe, Sam? I don't know.
It's so hard because I really... It's annoying, right? Because, and I haven't said this before ever, but because I've kept it to myself. I'm not going to keep it to myself now. I'm releasing it on our podcast. Here we go. CrossFit is now not 100% owned, right, by a person. It is now one brand of a portfolio of brands, of a portfolio of companies invested in by a private equity company. So Berkshire Partners is one of the portfolio of other brands for them, and I imagine one of Eric Rosa's mates, or maybe they invested in some of his companies before or something. But that, as you said before, Jace, like that does change things. Like Dave Castro leaving is not going to change my gym. The gym it's not going to change Bearwood and CrossFit, right? It's just not. But it will change CrossFit. Like those things change. Like it hasn't really sunk in until something else big has happened within CrossFit. Like this is actually the CrossFit now is so different from the CrossFit that was 2-3 years ago. And I'm not saying that the CrossFit 3 years ago was perfect, because it wasn't. Like obviously it wasn't. They didn't even have an HR department. But it's just such a different, it's just so different now because of the way that it's set up. And the way that it's set up is to make money, which every company should do, right? It's set up to make as much money as it possibly can. And the way that they're making money is hopefully making the world as fit as they could possibly be, and that is only a good thing. So I actually don't mind them making loads of money out of the world becoming fitter. But if that is at the expense of partnering with Monster Energy or partnering with Coca-Cola, or essentially pieing the face of the last 15 years of CrossFit, like I don't think that that's okay. Which you could argue that partnering the games with Monster Energy is pie in the face of CrossFit for the last 15 years. potentially. Because what Greg Glassman took on Big Soda and won, like what's next? What are they doing? Like, has anyone said anything that what's happening next? Because at the moment, like, we're polishing the trophy cabinet of Greg Glassman. Like, hey, look how good we are. You know, we're doing we're doing all these things. We're not doing anything new yet. I mean, hopefully, I live in hope for the future, obviously. Like, as I said, I don't think Greg Glassman is a bad guy. I think he's probably a great guy, and exactly what the corporate side of CrossFit needs. If you could have had both of them, imagine both of them together. I know that, like, Greg Glassman doing his thing, like just going to beat up like big companies, which is essentially what he got fired for, right? The tweet that he put out wasn't it was insensitive, and okay, you could argue, some would argue it was racist, but the intent of it was trying to tell people to back off of something they don't know much about. There was a company that was trying to tell some people about something they don't really know about, and he was like, whatever. I don't want to get, I've got too far into that. But I think Dave Castro going is sad, very, very sad for CrossFit. Is it going to ruin the CrossFit gyms all over the world? Absolutely not. Will the games be different? Absolutely yes. But it's sad. I genuinely am sad that Dave Castro is
this
not
then
CrossFit.
The evolution of CrossFit in the same way that the athletes are no longer just dudes who own boxes or people who get to train 4 hours a day because they're box owners or that kind of thing. They're professional athletes now. The top 100 or whatever it is in the world are all professional, paid, sponsored athletes. And yes, most of those brands, I completely agree. Sam, Monster Energy was a massive problem. They should never have gone in with them. but you know, in the same way now the athletes are sponsored. Is this just, well, now so is the brand?
But it is like Jay said. But it is like Jay said. Like, they're basically like what they're doing is setting the precedent for I can do whatever I want. And didn't we just kick the guy out like for doing whatever he wanted? Do you know what I mean? Like, there was a guy that we didn't like because he did a bunch of stuff that people didn't like, but he was doing whatever he wanted to do. And now, like, oh, that doesn't fit with our vision, so see ya. They've just done it politely.
Yeah, I guess as well, like, you've got, you know, the problems that you've got is that you've got a global brand that is also at the same time kind of independently run, because as Tom mentioned, like, it doesn't affect your affiliate. So different affiliates will have different values, different things that they prioritize as being the most important thing. It's very difficult for you then to sit back at HQ and be like, and these are our values. And then there'll be affiliate owners around the world going, well, not really. Like, that's not the way I see it. I see it like this. And so it is, you know, you're kind of trying to dictate almost, and, you know, you can't control what people think and how people feel. But if you sort of start punishing people when they don't think and feel the same way that you do, you know, like, when does it end with sort of like an affiliate deciding to do something, you know, or sponsoring something or doing something, and then it's, well, we don't agree with that, so you're de-affiliated. And you're like, well, hold on, what? It's because, you know, you've gone against the values that we've now imposed. And it's kind of, yeah, it's just I don't know. I mean, ultimately, I've got no skin in this game at all. You know, as the most important thing I think that Tom mentioned is that obviously the methodology is there. And if CrossFit do some massive U-turn and we decide, you know what, this CrossFit, the brand, is not for me, doesn't mean I can't still use the methodology that is public, you know, that we all know that many gyms around the world do as functional fitness now, not necessarily CrossFit.
This won't change a single thing in our boxes.
No.
Not one thing. Apart from we won't be swearing Dave Castro's name sometime around February.
Well, you probably will, because you can guarantee they're still using the open workouts that you will have programmed, and like
apparently it's Justin Berg's programming I read earlier on.
Well, but they've always worked together. Like, he was basically just the guy in the shadow. Like, they've been working together all these years. So like, that makes sense why he would step forward and be the face. Although, like, I wouldn't envy someone to take on the game. Like, it doesn't matter what happens this year. If the games are not as everyone imagines them to be, like, that's going to be tough for him, right? Because it could be
he's on a no-win. The games could be the best
yeah.
games ever, and it still wouldn't be good enough because Castro would have done something different.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. By the way, just, you know, this is the beauty of recording on an evening like this. I've also had an update from Fantasy Fitnessing.
Oh, awesome.
Dave messaged me saying that they're adding Scott Panchek to the game.
Cool.
And then Wodapalloza will be changing up the athlete list as big names decided to compete. So nightly updates will be happening.
Oh, wow.
That means that the rosters we've just told everyone about, they could change because might be.
Although we have to assume that people could drop out. You know, maybe if they unfortunately test positive or whatever.
Yeah. Well, no, more that like there might be a name that's been added that you're like, oh, actually, I want that person, even if they're not from the
like a Zach George, yeah. So
yeah. You know.
BFG.
It's really Dave Castro going sad, man. I find it really sad. But I'm not a hater. I genuinely I'm only sad because I care, and that's what makes me sad. Because actually, I you know, everyone like, oh yeah, Dave Castro's a prick. Like, have you ever met him? No. Is he a prick because he ruins you every year in the Open? Absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, you know, it won't be the same, but it's like, you know, is it like a weird uncle who doesn't get to come to Christmas anymore? Like, it was really fun when he like used to take the mick out of your mum and like, you know, do stupid stuff.
He'll get front row seats at the games, won't he? And just be sat there just shaking his head for 4 days.
He won't go to the games. He won't go to the
No,
games.
he won't.
I imagine he'll move on. I don't think that it's a huge problem for him in that regard at all. I do imagine that. I imagine if you look at the grand scheme of things, for the majority of people, they have no idea what's going on at HQ. They have no idea what's going on with the sport of CrossFit. They just go to their gym 2-3 times a week, and that's all they want to do. And like, none of this matters for them. You're going to have some people that are like, we've had an affiliate for 15 years. This hurts me. This crushes me. I've met Dave multiple times, and you know, he was a great guy and he really helped us out. And these people will be very vocal in how they feel. And then
he
you're going
used
to have
to
people
drop
that
in
hate
everywhere,
him.
didn't he? He used to literally would drop in everywhere. But
he has done well. Yeah, he's done so much. And then you're going to have on the other side the very vocal few that are like, that hate him and think this is a good thing, and it's good that he's gone and the world has changed and CrossFit needs, you know, can't be what it once was and it needs to evolve with that. You know, and ultimately we'll all decide where we fit in on this spectrum across the board, and that's all fine. So, like, big picture, it doesn't really matter. Even bigger picture, it's just CrossFit. It doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of life. I've got far bigger problems to deal with. But I do feel the kind of the precedent it sets is a little bit weird. I do worry about the direction that CrossFit is heading sometimes. Even though, as I said, it doesn't really affect what's happening here in Bath, for example. No. That's all the same.
But you have to try, like, and the thing that I come back to about, and it comes back to everything in life, really. Like, I trust the people I know that are in charge. So, like, the people that, like, the guy that owns my box, Sam, I trust him. You know, if CrossFit took a major U-turn somewhere else, I know for a fact that he'd be the first one out. Like, well, not the first one out, but you know what I mean? Like, he'd be like, actually, guys, what are we doing here? Like, I love CrossFit and I love what we've been doing. You know, I don't want to be getting cans of Coke in my fridge now, please. Thanks. That's okay for me. Like, and I feel like I've been bashing actually this episode, but I don't mean to bash quite so hard. You know, people like Ollie, people like Carl, like, I trust those guys. They're in charge of the area that we live in. Like, I you know, as you say, it's just a bit of a dangerous precedent, isn't it? Potentially. If it is a precedent, we don't know yet. He might have like emailed Rosa slating him or like doing something stupid. He might have done. He might have
sent him those pictures of him in Glassman going, "Hey, here's me at the real boss at CrossFit."
You never know, do you? Like, you just don't know. And obviously, this is speculation on something that we know from pictures on Instagram and the morning chalk up. And we did an episode a few weeks ago about, and I said how much I love journalists.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
He did say he hadn't spoken to Eric. That doesn't mean he hasn't been in contact with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm just curious because Tom looks like he's been furiously Googling this whole time. I'm just wondering if he's found some. He's either doing something completely different. He's probably editing Chalking Fitness, but he may have.
Is it that bad? I'd literally just struggled to find the Zoom window. I'm listening. This is this. Yeah, that's that. Now I think, like I say, this is such an evolving topic. I'm intrigued to see. There just feels like there's stuff coming out all the time. Going back to something that Sam, you were saying, and I've heard others say it as well. Is like we're only hearing the breaking news, and this is social media again. Things happen so quick. Okay, it's not a lot. It's not. Dave isn't part of the go forward mission. Well, what's the go forward mission? And that's the thing is that, and I think you described it, Sam, as like polishing the trophy cabinet of like Greg and what had been built. Jason, you discussed how we've just been trying different things, creating affiliate upskilling, the CAP. We've now got CrossFit Health. We've got, a greater presence of non-endemic brands kind of at the games, but what's the playbook, right? What is the strategy? Are we going to see big things? And I guess there's probably a reason you don't see that stuff is because it will divide opinion. And for some, it will be like, that's not what I want. And going right back to what I said at the beginning, that people feel so attached, even though it's an affiliate model where it won't change what happens in your box. People feel like Dave Castro's their uncle or whatever, and that they feel personally offended by these things because they're so emotionally attached to kind of CrossFit and walk, talk, breathe CrossFit. So things like this, they feel kind of like it's happening to them, even if it's not. So yeah, I think it'll continue to evolve. I'd like to kind of start to see, because I can, like I say, I can put myself in other people's shoes and I can see, okay, I can see that we've got more of a corporate entity at CrossFit HQ now. I'm really excited to kind of start seeing where that is. But at the same time, that's why I enjoyed a great chat with Carl and Rachel Steadman recently, understanding what their plan is for UK and Irish CrossFit. And that's probably really where I need to stop worrying, right? Because that's how it can influence, like how they can help the affiliates and how the affiliates can help the community.
Yeah, I did listen to that one, Tom.
Excellent.
It's exciting. It is exciting. It's sad, but it is exciting nevertheless. CrossFit only gets bigger, right?
And as things grow, there's pain.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this is just part of it.
Deep.
Wow.
Deep thoughts from John. That's why we get him.
That's why he is John O CrossFit.
Yes.
Yeah. You probably have to change that soon to John O Functional Fitness, but don't worry, Will.
It doesn't have the same ring, does it?
I've just sent you that's what the other thing I was doing. I was sending you a t-shirt. So
I did John CrossFit written on the back.
I almost did. But printing on both sides of a t-shirt puts the price up, and
that's all right.
And you're not worth that much.
No.
I've got two with John O CrossFit already written on them. So that's all good.
I'm gonna go with John O Castro.
John O. I mean, I think it's the hue off the light. I'm not actually that tan. I'm a pasty white Irishman. It takes 2 weeks to go red in the sun, not tan. But yeah, I think with Castro, I mean, he is the villain piece for the games every year, isn't he? You can see the joy the man has in his face every time someone dies in a workout, and that is his mindset and his ability. But you can't say the games haven't been brilliant over the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, whatever we've watched them for. They're incredible workouts and challenges for all of the athletes that turn up. I know we had quite a big falling out when they brought in that whole bringing in all the fittest people from every country. He didn't like that model, I don't think. Didn't really like the sanctional model. So maybe because that's the road Rosa wants to go down, and Dave was such a vocal opponent, who knows? But like you said, Tom, as more and more people come out, and we get these go forward plans, so we know what they are, then we'll be able to judge what today's announcement really means, right?
Yeah, and I mean, like, even with regards to the game, like, Wodapalloza looks great. Rogue was great. Dubai is good. Like, I mean,
yeah.
And
Dave's
I was
not going to
just
be
about to
short
open
of
a
job
second
offers,
can of
is he?
worms, just for a second, and then I quickly shut the lid because
He's
I was about to say
not
something
going to
about
be short
Dubai.
of offers, is he? Live and Loud are going to come with loads of money, or Rogue are going to throw loads of money at him for him to be the program director for these different events. He's going to be still in the arena, isn't he?
Yeah, and as I said, it's not that, and I think the games could be just as successful this year, or even more successful with, more money behind it and whatever's going on and programming, all of that. I mean, yeah, to me, it's more just the kind of the quick turnaround of clearly didn't know he was getting fired. This just came out of nowhere almost, after a few days previously posting a message about the Open, and then suddenly it's like you're fired, and this behind the scenes thing of, and we're going to say it's mutual because we want to keep a good, people to think it was like
that's corporate
thing.
Everything, Jace.
Yeah, I know, but that's inherently my thing. It's like it's not it's not the why, it's not the future of CrossFit or this and that. It's just, oh man, these kind of things are now like happening
things.
And I just don't like it. But as I said, ultimately it doesn't affect me. So, but hey, we need to put content out. So you've got to have a podcast about something, right?
And if anyone wants to see how much you don't like it, you can watch it on YouTube.
Yeah. See my expressions change as soon as Tom is caught. All right. And on that note, corporate plate stack chat comes to an end.
Sign up to the Patreon.
If you want to sponsor an episode of Plate Stack Chat,
send us your values at.
Oh, it hurts when I hear this because, like, on the one side, we're joking, but at the same time, like, that's why the Patreon model would be the way to go for a podcast, because people are supporting your content and you are in control and you are not having to please a corporate sponsor overlord that has certain values they want you to project on your podcast. You have freedom to say, this is how I feel about this, and then people know, oh, that must be how they feel about this. So that's we feel that way, like, individually with the podcast. So it's interesting, you're just basically upscaling that to a massive degree, aren't you, and putting a CrossFit label on it. I'm not starting the conversation again. Right.
No.
Thank you, everyone.
I sent a message to a friend of mine about 12 hours ago asking him what he thought. And he's replied just now saying, I think it's a good move for CrossFit to move forward. Let Rich Froning program the games now.
Because he's not like American.
That's a comment like straight out of Facebook. That is.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like because he does his whole.
And it took him
Instagram
what,
and
12
Facebook.
hours to write that? You said?
Yeah. He must have had to go and find a good quote somewhere to cut and paste.
But you see, there's something like, John, I wish you hadn't said it.
Sorry.
But that therein is like the fundamental misunderstanding of what Castro does is just what he was doing. No, it's like, get Rich to program. Rich can program, but
it's more than the programming.
One, Rich Froning is as all-American. I was going to say as all-American as Dave Castro, more so because Castro's Mexican, so he is as. So I would say more so. And he's got
and quite often puts up hunting shots on his.
I was going to say he's got a bison farm. He's got other So why would we be happy with Rich going in? And also, Rich is a big name. So if you're saying, well, we don't want it to be about a person, why are you putting in another big name to fill that gap?
Big name, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. So all of this is nonsense, isn't it? It's all ridiculous.
Look. It's the same as I don't know if any of you watch NFL. I don't know if any of you watch NFL or not, but did anyone see Antonio Brown walk off the field the other day?
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't follow
Buccaneers. It. So this guy literally was star jumping half naked across the field as he was leaving. Now, on the day, everyone went, what an absolute, can't say the word because you have to bleep it. I know we're not on the podcast now, Jace, but it's all right. But what an absolute knobhead. What's he doing? What's going on? As it's gone forward, it's come out that the coach he's told the coach he's not fit to play. His ankle's hurting him, which he's missed training all week because of an ankle issue. but they put him in the game. He said, I can't play. And the coach said, well, bugger off then. So he did. Now, his reaction on how he went was different, but as more and more information comes out and more days go past, the initial reaction is always to kick out and do that knee jerk, isn't it? But actually, as more info comes out and as more things become apparent and more revelations come out, we'll understand this a bit better.
Yeah. I mean, I do wonder how bad his ankle was if he decided to star jump off afterwards, because I would have thought it can't be that bad.
I think there's a bit of a difference between star jumping and being an elite athlete in American football and being able to sprint.
He's been struggling with ankle injury for like a year and a half. It's not that's not a new. They knew that. In fact, they drafted him this year, so he was somewhere else last year. He wasn't at the Bucks last year, was he? Was it?
He was at the Patriots with.
Yeah.
He was at the Patriots, and then they cut him, didn't they? Because he had an issue. But yeah, it's the same thing. Like the initial reaction to him running off the pitch, absolutely his reaction wasn't the right one. But he was told to go to the locker room and leave. And he did it at an away game, so he had to then make his own way home because they wouldn't let him on the team plane to go back to Tampa Bay.
Wow.
I mean, for an NFL player, it's probably not that tough, is it?
Yeah.
No.
Right. Guys, we never wrapped up. We've got to wrap up now.
Oh, sorry, I thought you'd done it.
We're wrapping up. So plate stack, chat, and a bit of American football there. We've thrown it all in. Right. Wodapalloza, that looks great. We're looking forward to that. Dave Castro, yeah, who knows? Maybe something will come. As soon as we stop recording, we'll probably get like an email come through with some horrific revelation in it, and then we'll feel really bad for defending him if we did that. It's interesting. We've all got slightly different opinions on that. What's your opinion? Let us know. Send in a message. Why not? Thanks, everyone. And we'll just end it there because it's been going on way too long. Bye, everyone.
Cheers.